I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.
So wait a minute. Are you telling me that in California specifically, I was a hostage? We were all hostages for the past 10 to 20 years? And when I say hostages, I mean we're being held hostage by overpriced, super expensive rent. And none of us understood what was going on. You mean to tell me the key to our rental properties, our two-bedroom apartments being $3,000 and $4,000 a month, depending on where you live, but that's pretty much the average in California? You mean to tell me our rents were three times higher than other states, mainly because we had millions of illegals here literally competing for the same finite available rentals in Los Angeles? We were all fighting over that. So you mean to tell me, due to the supply and demand dynamic, there was a higher demand on the supply of housing. Therefore, landlords could raise the rents and overprice tenants every single year simply because we were not enforcing our immigration laws. I don't know why I never thought. See, I'm thinking, okay, I live an hour from the beach, even though it's only 8 miles. It's going to take an hour with traffic. But why is there so much traffic? Why is everything so expensive? Who are all these people? I was in LA 2 weeks ago. Rent prices are already going down in downtown. Rent prices are going down in Echo Park. Rent prices and crime have tumbled in MacArthur Park. You know MacArthur Park that had that lake that was disgusting in the heart of LA, right off of, what was that, Cesar Chavez Boulevard in, I don't know, 6th or 5th? You mean to tell me that entire area was completely full of illegals? Millions of them have now self-deported. So now they're looking to rent out those places for affordable rents. You mean to tell me my friends are now telling me how they just got their first construction job by just simply being a man of large stature and walking past a construction site? So let me get this straight. My entire young and adult life, I just thought there were no jobs in California. I'm from LA. I thought we all had to go out here and hustle and commit crimes to earn money because there was nothing to do. You mean to tell me this entire time we've had an economy, but they just hired people that were illegal so they can pay them less than they would pay an American citizen like myself? And they would rent out apartments to people for more expensive because they knew they were undocumented. Therefore, that ended up being the median rent price. So now I have to also pay that price, even though I am a citizen. So I've been getting scammed my entire adult life, but I'm not supposed to want to walk around here wearing a MAGA hat backwards. I'm not supposed to want to walk around here wearing an ICE hat. I'm a businessman first. If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. In business, you can't have emotions. My bottom line is being affected because a bunch of emotional people are crying about other people, not because they actually like these people, because they don't. That's why they put them in harm's way any chance they get. But they only want these people here so that they can be a part of their voter base. My whole life in California has been a scam. Everything was a scam. I'm so proud that there are brave men and women who are signing up to be ICE, who are enforcing these laws, and who are making sure illegals are not literally taking away from the American people. I used to never understand resources. Now I do. Housing is a resource. The reason why this apartment building is at 98% capacity and why they can justify raising the rent to 3 to 4, some apartments I've seen in LA 5,000 a month, is because there are illegals who they can overcharge because they're doing them a favor by renting to them under the table without documents and no proof of workmanship, no proof that they have a job. So they're not asking for proof of income because, well, you're not legally working, so you're not going to get proof that you have a taxable income. So these buildings, because they are skirting the law, are willing to be paid under the table. And now rent prices are going up for everyone because all these buildings are full, but a lot of them are full of illegals. So now that there's less illegals, they're going to need to bring in American tenants. But because there's less people vying for the apartments and competing over them, rent prices naturally will go down. Oh, but Rico, don't forget the construction costs are going to go up. Well, these are already built. I'm not talking about new builds. We're not building anything new in California. We don't have open land. Everything's going to be a remodel and a rebuild. There's not going to be any new construction. I'm talking about the available property right now in LA, in North Hollywood, in Echo Park, in Silver Lake, in MacArthur Park, in Highland Park, in these areas all around LA where, even though I'm Latino and I speak Spanish, everyone else doesn't. Areas where other people cannot even comfortably survive while they're in the United States. Everything is Spanish. All those people were literally being charged extreme amounts of rent because the landlords knew that they couldn't argue because they were here illegal. So everyone is being scammed. The illegals are being scammed. The citizens are being scammed. It's all just a ripoff. You know, at this point, I'm not even necessarily upset that LA City is talking about doing another rent moratorium, and they're going to blame the illegal, the illegal deportations as a new excuse to basically make people not have to pay rent, so that the landlords will lose their properties and go belly up, and the city can buy them for pennies on the dollar, and they'll have first right of refusal. I'm not necessarily upset about that anymore. Everyone was scamming everyone. California, the whole state's just a big scam. It's a huge scam. Really, our population and maybe our economy was basically just being fraudulently inflated by just the amounts of the pure amount of how many millions of illegals were here undocumented. And no one can tell me there's not millions of them because we don't know how many they are. So because we don't know how many there are, we don't know how many there are not. So you can't tell me either way. This is an apartment building right here that someone said ICE hit and they took everyone away. And look how empty it is. Do you know those rent prices are going to drop 30 to 40% just so they can fill them up with Americans? Because obviously you're going to want Americans. They're going to know what the median rent average is in that area. And it's going to go way down now that there's no more illegals willing to pay top dollar because you're not going to request documentation. I cannot believe we were all being scammed this whole time.
Crazy as hell, man. Y'all see that video I just posted? There is literally no cars, no people in residence here anymore. ICE was here yesterday and got everybody out. Look at
People said it couldn't be done. Look how easy it has been all these years just to get rent prices to go down so that if you make a livable wage, you can afford to live as an American. All you had to do was enforce our existing laws. Unbelievable.
the windows. They got them all up. They got everybody out of here, chat. This was a full Hispanic community. Every person that lived in these houses were of Hispanic descent, and they are not here anymore.
Well, let's be more specific because I'm Hispanic. You don't need you mean the place was of illegal descent. This is these were not these were you can not all of us are illegals. So this was an apartment complex full of people who were criminals who broke the law, and they felt so comfortable breaking the law, and they were so sure that the law would never catch up with them and they would just get away with it, that they were bold enough to have children and start families, knowing that they're on the run, on borrowed time, knowing that eventually someone might kick their door in, raid them, and arrest them. So you're willing to put your children in harm's way by taking this risk. One thing I want to tell people that you need to realize, and why I don't really feel sympathy for the undocumented illegals. Most of the people that are arrested undocumented, they've been here for years. That means they didn't even give a damn enough to try. They didn't put in the paperwork. They didn't file anything. And not only that, not only did they have no respect for the country and our laws, not only did they just say, yeah, I'm going to have kids here, even though I'm illegal, I don't care. So a lot of them were bold enough to even go out and start committing crimes. So you mean to tell me you're not afraid? You don't even care if you go to jail because you know they won't move you because they need your vote. Do you know how emboldened and brave that is for someone illegal to feel confident enough to go out and not just make children and live here and just do whatever they want, but also to even commit crimes? That just shows you had zero fear of consequences because you felt like we were weak. You thought every president and all the leadership in America was just going to be weak forever, and a gradual invasion would come in and you would replace us with your strong leaders from your country. The same people you're fleeing from, you want to give this country to them to take over. In my opinion, your logic is flawed. I'm just in shock.
That is so crazy, man.
And I would live there. If it has four walls, a door, a kitchen, there are plenty of Americans who will be more than happy to take over those places and live there. There are Americans for these jobs. There are Americans for these homes. There are Americans to do everything. We don't need H-1 visas. We don't need immigration. We don't need anything. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a capitalist. Because of illegal immigration, to clean my Airbnbs, on average was only going to be about $275 per house. If I have to start paying Americans because of the deportation, so be it. But guess what? My new bill, instead of $275, is going to be $450. But if that's the price it's going to take to make my country great again, to make sure that I'm contributing to the economy so that I'm hiring Americans, hopefully I'll be able to buy American more soon. I'll be able to help someone pay to a livable wage so they can afford a reasonable rent where it's not going to be just overpriced and price gouging because we have so many illegals here that they're actually fighting over this scarce amount of apartments, raising the values artificially. These apartments that we're paying $3,000 and $4,000 for, a 2-bedroom should be about $1,750. A 1-bedroom shouldn't be any more than $1,312 to $1,300. But I remember that's when they opened the borders. That's when we started seeing a lot of mass immigration from illegals. All of a sudden, rent went from $1,250 for a 1-bedroom to $1,700, $1,800. 2-bedrooms, I remember back when they were $1,800, $1,600. Now $3,000 for a basic luxury apartment in downtown LA, not even in the nice areas. And that was all because we were invaded by illegals from another country, willing, instead of going out and trying to get your citizenship because you didn't care or respect our laws, you're willing to pay extra to live there without any questions. I'm so glad these loopholes are being closed. I'm glad these people are out. And now we can assess the damage, mitigate it, and get back to American business. Do me a favor, like and subscribe, share the video. Amazing that we went this long being overpriced for rent when we didn't have to. I can't believe it. This is just, I got to play the video again.
That is crazy as hell, man. Y'all see that video I just posted? There is literally no cars, no people in residence here anymore. ICE was here yesterday and got everybody out. Look at the windows. They got them all up. They got everybody out of here, chat. This was a full Hispanic community. Every person that lived in these houses were of Hispanic descent, and they are not here anymore. That is so crazy, man.
I remember I lived in a building that was extremely racist against non-Hispanics. And I remember this one girl, she was Mexican, but her boyfriend was German, from Germany, white dude. And I remember they used to make them so uncomfortable that after about 2 months after they moved in, they just had to abruptly just leave. And guess what? The building didn't charge them a lease break fee or anything because they didn't want anyone they didn't want anyone living there that didn't speak Spanish. They just wanted us, just our own people there. Very discriminatory, very racist. And this, like, literally the day after they moved out, they were able to move in another Hispanic family that was willing to pay an extra $800 a month because there would be no questions asked about citizenship, employment. Because don't get me wrong, we work, we make money, but it's just not over the table. Even if you're paying somebody a good wage, but you're paying them in cash, that means there's no taxes coming out. So you're really just getting over on the country. You're getting over on the people because there's no benefits. So yeah, you're making, good money. You're being paid cash, but you got to pay for your own dental, medical, and things happen. The food over here is poison. The water is poison. The air is poison. Your kids chewing on paint and anything can happen. So if anything goes wrong, you're in trouble. But all of this, and at the end of the day, American people like myself in Los Angeles were penalized with high rents for basically our entire adult lives. We don't know what it's like to be paying low rental amounts. We've been paying 50, 60% of our income our entire life. When we go to other states and find out that they don't live like that, we're appalled. But we always come back to California thinking, oh yeah, it's great. Living by the sea, you're by the water, but it's so dangerous now. The crime is out of control. I mean, you're gonna be buried by the water. That's your best. You're gonna be like, oh, it's a good place to die, young. It's not even worth it. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. But knowing that rents around the country are going down, even though all these specialists, I go read these specialist articles on, I look at the faces. What I do is I go to an article and then I'll look at it and I'll say, okay, there's a weird bias here. It's anti-Trump. And then I'll look at the face of the author and then I'll sometimes, Google their name. Literally 100% of the authors of these articles that are giving you bad information to basically make you hate Trump and what he's doing, all the authors are either gay or black. So I don't trust anything written by anybody black or gay anymore. It's just a force of habit. It just doesn't make any sense. You can't, unless you're an independent journalist like myself, everything they write is going to be biased. Not a bias based on reality, but a bias based on this fantasy land where there's no law enforcement. See, when you talk to these people, they say, oh, fascist, but they don't mean an actual fascist of the definition of the word. To them, fascist means a straight white male, typically in a uniform, who will usually arrest them for their crimes against children. So that's what they're protesting against. So anything that's positive for Trump, they see him as a figure of law enforcement. They're going to hate it. They're going to hate him, even when they're doing good for the country. So that's why people like myself, even with my audience, which is growing, and I do appreciate that, even people like myself, the reason we make these videos is to give you another angle. The reason I go by Rico Limbaugh now is because I want to talk to you. I want to explain to you why the Republican policies are working, why conservative values are important, why you should believe in God, and why you should live a certain way. I can explain that to you now. That's why I'm here. I want to explain to you the beauty of seeing all these arrests. Do not feel sorry for these people being arrested by ICE. They had a choice. They could have self-deported. It was an option. They chose to get arrested and thrown out. They had a choice. They had an option. Nobody forced them to stay here. Nobody forced them to break our laws either and never care about getting citizenship until now. So I'm going to keep making videos showing you the different benefits of the policies of our administration and our amazing president. And I'm going to counter the arguments of the gay and the black community, which is really just one community at this point, because everything they're saying to you is it wants you to be mad about nothing. I'm about to do another video right now. It's just all black people in Memphis mad that Trump stopped the death. He's like, who the hell do you think you are to interrupt our death cult? We're doing sacrifices every night and in the streets with guns and bullets. And who are you, Trump, to send in the military to stop us from killing each other? I don't take those people seriously. That's why I don't read their articles. I'm just not going to listen to them. So anyway, like and subscribe, share the video. If you have any comments, I'm all ears. I'll be back shortly with another clip, and I will see you again in a few minutes. Thank you very much for tuning in. Cheers.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.